Hey guys, Kev here. Wanted to talk about this article. It came out about a week ago on WCCF Tech and came kind of back to light today with just some more evidence, proof, if you will. The article is What's Up with the Missing NVIDIA DLSS Support in AMD Sponsored Titles on PC. Excellent article. I do recommend reading it. Like I said, it's about a week old, but the problem came back up today, so we're just going like I said, the article's about a week old, but the problem came back up today, so we're going to kind of use this to start, and then we're going to elaborate a little further. So what's going on? It's real simple. This is a list of games over the last 2 years that have been sponsored by NVIDIA or AMD. And what you will see here is that most of the time, if the game is sponsored by NVIDIA, it'll have DLSS and FSR there day one. If it's sponsored by AMD, it might have DLSS day one. Maybe, it depends. So a few examples where it did recently is like The Last of Us port. Spider-Man, I believe, had it as well. Most of the Sony ones that I can think of, I think actually did have it. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves had both day one. But there are also cases where it launched with just FSR, for example, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Callisto Protocol, Sniper Elite 5, where it didn't have DLSS and doesn't to this day. Far Cry 6 is another one that I'm looking at that still doesn't have it. And some of these games are over a year or coming up on 2 years old and still don't have DLSS support. This is a really scummy business practice. So let's get that out the gate. Let's get that out the way first. I think this is a terrible business practice. I hope that this is just a coincidence and that AMD isn't doing this on purpose. At the same time, AMD is a business and is a corporation. So really, I don't trust AMD or NVIDIA to not do this. I've heard people talk about Hairworks and go tit for tat. I'm not here for that. However, it makes me think into the future and think about what's going forward. And what I mean by what does this mean going forward makes me think about the story that came up today. AMD partners with Xbox and Starfield, so we know we're going to get FSR2 support at a bare minimum. They're their exclusive PC partner. Again, we're using WCCF Tech. But what does this mean for NVIDIA DLSS in the game? Most of the time, I say DLSS isn't necessarily needed for the cards that support it. I am of the belief that FSR and DLSS should really be reserved for older hardware and that we shouldn't make games that aren't optimized for modern hardware. I don't believe there's any reason you should have to use DLSS on a 4090. Or even on something like my 7900 XT, I tend to not use FSR with it because I don't see the point. Now, you could argue, yeah, for ray tracing, it does help. But I'd kind of rather get that performance and maybe push ray tracing off to the side. Or just if I really, really wanted that bad, I'll lower my resolution to 1080p or something like that. I know that DLSS, the idea is that it uses AI to make the image look the same, and then you get better performance. I just don't like the idea of it personally, how they do it. So it's technology that I personally choose not to use. That's part of why I took so long actually to make this video, because again, it's just something I choose not to use. But the fact that this really bothers the community so much and that this is such a big thing, I think it should be talked about. And I think that something needs to be done to make sure that NVIDIA customers are served. Because punishing people for buying the wrong hardware, one, it's a console tactic, and I think it's a console tactic that doesn't belong on PC. And two, it undermines completely the openness of the platform. You should be able to get all of the features that you want and need for your games, regardless of if you chose AMD or NVIDIA. Or Intel, for that matter. I always sometimes forget about Intel. It shouldn't make a difference. You should be able to play your games to their fullest extent. If that means you have to use upscaling, sure. Again, I think upscaling should be reserved for like a GTX 1060 or something. But if you really want to use that on your 4080, go to town. I see nothing wrong with that. So I've seen people call for boycotts of AMD. I don't think that's necessary. Both companies are going to do something scummy. They've all done scummy things in the past. AMD is no saint. Nvidia, Intel are no saints. But I do want to speak out against this practice, and I hope that this practice stops, it ends, and I really, really hope that this being brought out to the light, because Nvidia denied ever doing this, and there's no evidence of Nvidia really doing this. AMD kind of dodged the question, so I really, really hope, and I'm really hoping for Nvidia users, that this is added to the game. That's all. I kind of just wanted to give my 2 cents on the situation. What do you guys think about this? I think this is going to be a very unpopular topic. I don't think anybody's going to be happy that AMD sponsored games are affecting them if they chose not to buy AMD, and it shouldn't. So I think this is going to be a very unpopular topic. But I want to know what you guys think either way. Let me know in the comments below. Of course, if you're new to my channel, subscribe, share with a friend. I'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks for watching.